back to BUONAPAPPA. Today I want to share with you a super yummy and kid-friendly recipe that is butternut squash and turmeric focaccia. Focaccia is a super soft Italian flatbread. It's a kid's favorite here and all over the world because it's fluffy, it's salty, has extra virgin olive oil in it, it's super yummy. And with this recipe, I really wanted the Italian tradition to meet with the American one. So that's why I use butternut squash. The final result, it's super fluffy, super yellow, super tasty, but you are not going to overtaste the butternut squash. And it's delicately sweet as a background, but the rosemary and the salt, they perfectly balance the flavors. Easy recipe, it just needs a bit of time to let the yeast work and raise, but it's super simple. You can prepare it ahead and you can even store it and enjoy it later. First thing to do, we are going to roast the butternut squash. This is very easy. Take a butternut squash, peel it, and I use a potato peeler to do it. It's easier and faster. Chop it in cubes, 1-inch cubes. Place it on a baking sheet lined with some parchment paper. Preheat the oven very hot at 425 degrees and roast for a good 25-35 minutes, depending from the size of the cubes. Once your butternut squash is roasted, let it cool down and with an immersion blender or a food processor, simply blend the butternut squash into a thick and creamy mix. You do not want to add any water. That's important. The butternut squash cream should be thick, like this one. You can do this step way ahead. You know what I do? I usually buy the butternut squash, roast it, puree it, and freeze it, so that I can prepare the focaccia even 1 month after, because the butternut squash ingredient is already there waiting for me. So once the butternut squash is ready, you need a large bowl. You need to add in the bowl the flour, the yeast. I'm using instant active dry yeast, basically the small little brownish pellets. I'm also going to add turmeric and sugar. I will mix with a fork and I will also add the butternut squash puree. Add also the salt and start mixing with a fork. Warm the water in the microwave for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, so that it's not cold. That's very important. You want lukewarm water or warm water, not cold one. And then slowly, just a bit at a time, add the water into the mix and keep mixing with the fork. Add also the extra virgin olive oil, 2 tablespoons. And now it's time to use your hands. With your clean hands, start mixing the dough in order to create a very sticky dough. And if you see that the dough is too sticky, so it doesn't form, it doesn't stay together, and that can happen because every butternut squash is different. So the amount of water that comes out from the roasted butternut squash can vary just a bit. So if you see, like in this case, that the mix is too sticky, just add a handful of flour, like that, and keeps mixing. So now wash your hands. Prepare a large, bigger bowl, and I really suggest either ceramic or glass, and grease the bowl with some extra virgin olive oil. Dust a flat surface with some flour and transfer the butternut squash mix. With your hands, start kneading again in order to form a nice and compact bowl, like this one. And the final dough will still be a bit sticky. Don't worry, it's perfect, because this is a recipe, this is a focaccia recipe with a high water content. That's why the focaccia will come out very, very super fluffy, super moist. Transfer your smooth ball dough in the large bowl that you just greased with the oil. Cover with some plastic wrap and let it rest for 2-3 hours in a warm place, covered with a kitchen towel. And usually I love to use the oven switch off because the temperature inside the oven is always the same. If it's a cold day like today, I like it to let it rest next to the window so that the sun, the winter sun, kind of warms my bowl. And you will see that your dough is ready when it will have doubled its size, like this one. Transfer the dough in a baking sheet that you previously greased with 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, and with your hands, spread it out to cover the whole surface. Let it rest for 30-40 minutes again. Poke the focaccia with your fingers to leave that lovely dimples on the surface. Sprinkle the minced rosemary on top and also the sea salt. Drizzle also with 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Bake the focaccia in preheated oven to 400 Fahrenheit degrees for 30 minutes. You will see that a nice deep golden color will be formed on top. Remove from the oven, let it rest for 10 minutes, and then simply cut it in squares and enjoy. The freshly baked focaccia is simply awesome. Your kids will love it, I'm totally sure. Some questions about the focaccia recipe. What if the dough is too sticky, so I cannot form the dough? It's easy. You just need to add a bit more flour up until to reach the kind of image that you see in the video. And don't worry, it happens because it's a chemical effect between the water in the vegetables in the butternut squash. Even the temperature outside can modify how the dough will come out, so no worries. How can you store the focaccia? I usually store the focaccia leftovers in either in a plastic bag or in an airtight container in the fridge for 4 or 5 days, but usually it's gone way before. And in order to enjoy it again, I remove it from the fridge and I reheat it either in the oven 350 for 10 minutes or in the toaster for a few minutes. It's so yummy even if reheated. Can I serve the focaccia to my baby? Okay, so this recipe has a quite nice amount of salt, so I would recommend the full recipe starting from 9-12 months of age because of the salt amount. If you want to serve it to your little ones, even from 6 months of age, you can do it. My suggestion is to skip the salt, the final quantity of salt on top, or just place it on the part of the focaccia that you're going to serve to adults, so that your little one will have a lovely fluffy focaccia, but with a minimum amount of sodium. I really hope you're going to enjoy this recipe. It's one of our favorites. Usually goes in less than 1 day when I bake it. If you have any comment, leave them in the area here below. Remember to subscribe to BUONAPAPPA, and if you want to be notified when I post a new recipe, there is a little bell here below. You just need to click it and you will receive an email when a new recipe for BUONAPAPPA will come out. See you next week with a new one. Bye! Ciao ciao!